Hello and welcome to the Leganto 2018 August release notes webinar. Thank you for joining. This is Gal, product manager. Probably good morning to some of you and like good afternoon to the rest. Please mute yourself if you can. It will be easier to have this discussion like that. Let me see. Yes, we can start. In the August release, we have some very nice functionality, and I will go over most of the functionality in this webinar. Just one note to the highlight before we'll start. Next month, in the September release, there will be no Leganto release. It's an infrastructure release, so therefore we will not have any Leganto release as Alma. So instead of this release highlights for the release that will not exist, we will have a roadmap section. Still the date is not set. I'm in discussion with the working group around the date, so stay tuned for next month for this roadmap session for 2019. In the August release, I actually would like to start from this enhancement, readiness sorting enhancement, which will be available in Leganto. Let me just mute several people here so we'll not have some interference. Okay, so this functionality was added to Leganto in order to allow both instructors and students to have a view of the course and not only the view of the lists as today. If you're using course management system or virtual learning environment systems such as Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas, students usually arrive from those systems and click the LTI link and arrive Leganto on the course context. And what we show students usually are the lists related to this course or the one list content. Now we added this functionality in order to allow a cleaner view while arriving from the course manager system for the list related to this course. So in order to show that, I would like to log in into my Canvas environment. In my Canvas environment, I have two courses, and I think I'm an instructor now, but it will work the same for students as well. So when I click the module in Canvas, most likely if you're using other system, eventually you'll have a link that will initiate or trigger the LTI interface to Leganto. In this case, is the resource list button over here. So I'll click it, and because I have only one list associated to my course, I will enter this specific list directly. But if I'll go back to my list, now I can see this functionality in action. I can see that there is a filter active filter on the course. This is associated with course, and this is the course, in this case code. I can easily add, like any other filters in Leganto, other courses to the filter in order to see other lists, or I can basically remove the courses filter and see all available lists. So it acts as a filter and allows both students and instructor to actually to have a clearer view of the list associated with the course without the need to see all the other lists in the system, and therefore you can enable, disable it as a user. In the library, you can set up the default values, the default sort values per instructors and students in the custom settings in Leganto. So if you do have some instructions to your instructors of how Leganto will look like, So please add this section to your
I'm in as well.
instructors, to your instructions, and to be able to allow them to understand this functionality. Okay, so let's climb up to the beginning of the release notes. The second enhancement, which is also quite a nice one, is related to a rollover. In general, we will have more functionality related to rollover available in October release, but this is a specific enhancement in Leganto, allowing the instructor to perform rollover functionality within the Leganto interface. Now, it's also designed to be developed for you as a library to set up the default values for the rollover. So if you will, and let's start with in this place, in this configuration settings. So in order for you to design what type of default values you would like to have for the self rollover, and we will touch why it's needed, etc., just in a second. I just wanted to start from that point. Let me just find it. Okay, instructor rollover. I'm in the Leganto settings, instructor rollover operations, and I have a list of operations that I can, first of all, can enable or disable them from the view of the instructor. It means that instructor will not see those as an option if it's disabled, and also can set the default value of the operation. So let's just walk one by one, and so you understand the concept, and then we'll go back to Leganto and see how it looks like. So you have all the list of operations available here. So citation status says, do you want to recalculate them, meaning from the mapping, from the workflow mapping table, or copy them from the previous list. Copyright approvals as well, to recalculate the copyright approvals or just copy them. Due dates, do you wish to reset them on the citation or to keep them on the citations? And so forth and so on, public note, public tags, reading list statuses, student discussions, etc. And then these are the default that you want to set. And if you enable it, the instructor will be able to change the settings. If you disable it, it means that it will not be exposed to the instructors. Okay. Now, why we even bother to develop this functionality? Maybe I was supposed to start from that point, but let me just show it for you for a second. Because in some institutions, the course relation between the origin to the rolled course is not known to the library. The ones that are actually aware of this association are the instructors. So a self rollover is the only option for that purpose, because this is the only way we can perform the rollover, and not using the rollover job which exists today. So how it looks like, you have in the menu, in the reading list, you have duplicate and rollover. Duplicate, just duplicate the list. Rollover will create a copy of the list associated to a new course with all the operations that I showed before. So in this case, first of all, I need to choose a course, and this is a course available for me for being an instructor in the system. And then I can see that I have only 3 options, because if you remember, in the settings configuration, I allowed only 3 options to be available to manipulation by the instructors. So instructors can even perform rollover without even manipulating any of the options if you disable all the options for him and decide what are the defaults. But in case you are enabling some of the functionality, the instructor will be able to change the default settings and create and roll over the list. And just click the roll over, and basically the list will be created under the course with all the settings that you allow them to have. And it's an easy way to perform rollover. Definitely, it's an easy way to perform rollover for several courses that you didn't have a rollover with the main rollover job, or if you don't have the association between the origin courses and the rollover course. Now, there's another functionality associated to this enhancement. I just want to highlight it. Is the ability to move permalinks. As you probably know, permalinks are specific link to a URL that is not changeable. It's not changeable. You should always reach the same destination. Now, when you're rolling over your module in the course management system, sometimes instructors creating permalinks within the course management systems, and you wish those links also to point to the newly created list that you are rolling over in Leganto as well. So this is a unique functionality that you can enable or disable it according to your desire. When you're enabling it, it means that all permalink exists for the original citation before the rollover. After the rollover, will point to the newly created list or the most recent updated list that was rolled over from this citation. So when a student will click this permalink, it will be pointing to the newly created list section of citation that this permalink was pointing to, and will no longer point to the old quote-to-quote list. So we allow you to always to do that, but by doing that, you will only be able to reach to the newly created citation or list or section, and not to the old one. So you need to decide if you wish to leave the old permalink pointing to the old list and recreate the permalink in the new module in the course management system, or use this functionality and move all the pointing into the newly created rolled over lists. Any questions about rollover functionality that you would like to ask? Okay, so please test this functionality. It's quite nice one, and it works quite fine. The documentation is quite, elaborating everything here, so you should be able to easily understand all the parameters available here. The next thing I wanted to highlight is the total pages. As you probably saw, I have this pages indicator on the list and on the section and also on the citation. Now, the motivation for this functionality is double. First of all, when the instructor or the instructor designer is planning or designing a course, immediately she or he can have understanding of what's the capacity or what is the load on the students while creating the course. And in some places, as far as we know, for example, in Norway, they're actually limiting the amount of pages per student per course in order to not overload the student. Now, and this is the first part, so to design the course itself, the course reading this material, but also for the student, it's important because she needs to plan the upcoming week or weeks, and it's easier for them to understand what is facing them or what they are facing in the coming week. This functionality can disable from the customer settings. So if you don't wish to show it, you can disable this functionality. Okay, copyright configuration enhancement. This is more like a administratively task, but we believe it's important. We grouped all the copyright related activities under copyright management section from all over Alma. So you have a lot of functionality that you're familiar from Leganto, but some others, such as access rights and others that are maybe taken from another section. Just for you to be able to to easily find those related copyright management operations. Now we also added some functionality as well by doing that. For example, in the digitization workflow rules, which is aggregating rules both for course-related copyright and patron digitization and several other staff digitization, borrow and resource digitization requests. Now we added this filter that allow you to filter this rules by the nature of the rules. So if you wish to see only course-related digitization rules, you can filter this screen and see only those that are related to course related. If you wish to filter it by any other things, other type, you can do it as well. We also in the fulfillment approval request list, which is aggregating all requests available in the system, we also added a filter: is this request associated to course or not, or all? Okay, sorry. So if it's associated, you will be able to see only approval requests related to courses. So if you're managing requests for courses, it's easier to filter it out immediately without without seeing all other requests exist in the system. Next. Let's already discuss. Just refresh the screen. For some reason I see. Okay. Okay. For those of you who are working with the CLA DCS, the check permission will now show you also the second extract information if available. So I know that there are a couple of even more than that from England now that viewing this release highlights. So this will also available from the check permission in Leganto. For some reason there is an issue with the picture here, but I think it's locally on my computer. Okay, next. You probably saw that. It's now much more easy to. Whoa, what is that? Sorry. To drag and drop citation within the list, you have this small ear or handle at the right side. You just grab it and you can just move and drag and drop the citations. If you remember before that, it was just by clicking a specific area in the citation, which caused full citation view to open all the time. So now it's much straightforward and visible, and I think the UX here is it's improved. Let me just see if there's anything else here that is interesting. Okay, this enhancement it's more visible. It's less visible as an enhancement. I just want to highlight that when you are associated in Leganto, we used to associate a course to a reading list, and done that as a librarian. A librarian can see all the courses in the system. Sometimes the list was so long, so the behavior there was a bit slow and functioning a bit jittery. So we now, in order to avoid that, in places that they have a lot of courses in the system, we only grab the first 30 courses and show it immediately. And when you add more information to the search, we will filter those out. This was purely a response time enhancement. We also add the description to the find list page. So it's not a big development, but in the advanced search we have this description, so you can actually search according to reading list description. In several institutions there was the need for that. In general, if you search by the description, you can get a lot of garbage in the results, but depending on the environment. So in the description, in this case, I just got 2, but this is a demo environment, so I don't have a lot of lists. So it will check, it will find according to that. Let me just go back here. The UI for searching was slightly changed. I just want to show that. Oops, not my collection, my list. If you remember, several releases back, all the search was moved to the right side, so we highlighted it, make it more prominent in terms of the search bar and the search button. We will continue to develop some more functionality around this side in terms of UX. So, for example, you will have an X to clear out the search parameters you already searched by, etc. Well, this enhancement will be done in the October release. But right now, it's much more prominent and visible for the user. Also, if you're searching within Leganto, if you remember, we had 3 facets: book, an article, and audiovisual. We also added the book chapters facet as well. So if you are using book chapters facet in Primo, it will be available for you also in Leganto. You can facet accordingly and add chapters directly from Leganto. Okay, so the next one is actually an ID exchange that was developed. This is nice. We added another type of tag into the system. Until now, we had only 2 types in terms of citation tags, and section tags. We had a public tag, which means that this tag will be seen by student, instructor, and librarians. We had a librarian instructor tag. This tag was only supposed to be seen by instructors and librarians, for communication between them. So we added a 3rd type of tag, library internal tag, which can be only seen by the library or librarians. This is useful if you want to tag something as a citation internally in order to other librarians to see and filter according to this tag. The way to add those tags is straightforward. So let me just log in as as a librarian now into Leganto. And I'll just log into the same list. And I can see now I have 3 types of tags. I have the public tags with the student hats. I have the library to instructor tag, which have the same, sorry, the library internal tag, which has this library tags, and I have the instructor to library, which have this book indication. The way to edit is the same in Alma, and only librarians will be able to see those tags. Okay, if you remember, in the first citation we only had the essential, and now because I'm a librarian, I can see the internal tags as well, the invoke tag. So this was a good request from that was fulfilled from the ID exchange. Now, I'm glad to say this is the first nurse enhancement that was developed in Leganto. It was voted a few months ago and is delivered in August release. The next one is related to the ability for librarians to see the reading list status in Leganto. Until now, the only way to see the reading list status was in Alma. This parameter was hidden was hidden from Leganto users in general. So now, as a librarian, I can see the status of the list. But also, if I go to edit, I can manage and change the list status if I wish, and it will be also changed in Alma as well. Okay, so this is the first nurse enhancement, and I think it's a good one in general to ease your to have your flow more fluently. If you don't need to go back and forth in Alma if you're already in Leganto and you wish to change the status of the list. Now the second one I wanted to highlight is another nurse enhancement, which was related to mapping records from Primo into Leganto. So I should explain for a second. We had three nurse enhancements. One of the nurse enhancements was related to be able to copy citation, reading list, sorry, with the ability to manipulate the copyright, etc., within the copy. Now, this functionality was already fulfilled with the self-instructor rollover. So, because it was already fulfilled there, we added the fourth nurse enhancement and developed it instead of the one that was already fulfilled in another enhancement. I know that we don't have to do that, but we had the time and it was important to us to develop it, so we already did that as well. So this second nurse enhancement is related to the mapping. If and it's available, if you'll go to the Leganto settings, it's available in the Primo mapping screen. If you are familiar with Primo, and I'm sure that you are much more than I am, so if I'm saying something not correct, please correct me. But in general, this mapping table is a straightforward one. On the left side, you have the Leganto citation field. In the middle, you have the Primo section, which you would like to take this field from, and we have the add data and the display section in Primo, and which parameter Primo field take it from. So, for example, the book title in Leganto currently is from the add data Primo section, be title parameter. Parameter, etc., etc. And what it means, what you see here, basically can be manipulated. You can add more rows and you can customize. So, for example, the book title will be taken from the display and not the add data Primo section. So this is straightforward. However, we have two more functionalities available here, and you can see it in the publisher as an example. So publisher, which you see there is publisher and publisher 2. When you have another parameter in Leganto with a 2 or 3 or 4, etc., it means that we first try to populate publisher in Leganto from the first from the add data pub parameter. If we don't find anything there, we will try to find it in the display publisher. If we don't find it there, you can add other publisher with a number. So if you wish, you can have this as well. And the second manipulation can be done with the concat functionality. The concat will allow you to add more than one parameter if exists on the same field, split with a semicolon or split with any other way. So if, for example, the additional person name will not have the concat operation associated to, so we'll take only the first name. But if there are several additional person name available, and the concat operation is available, so we will loop and retrieve all the additional person name, and this is something important in those fields that have more than one value within them. So take a look at that. Be careful with it. Test it on your sandbox first, because it will implicate on how citation is created in your system from Primo. And that was the second nurse enhancement we are developing. We developed in August. We still have one nurse enhancement related to the ability to control which links will be displayed in Leganto, decided by the library, and this will be done. This was supposed to be done in November release, but we pushed it to December release due to the complexity. We started to work on it, but due to complexity nature of this functionality, it will be developed in December release. But it's again, I think all the nerve functionality introduced is contributing to the product, and really, really good enhancements. With this, I think I finalized the release highlights. We also reached to to the end of the time, even more than that. So let's have a few minutes. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer. If you remember on them later on, I will be happy to answer them as well. So I don't see any questions posted in the chat, so I can assume that you already read the release notes and checked it on the sandbox and checked it on production, etc. So you're already educated with everything. So I would like to thank you. You know what? I have one more thing. You know what? Just sorry about that. I just wanted to have a to discuss a few seconds about the sneak peek. First of all, next release we will have a new enhancement related to the UK DCS CLA DCS integration. Stay tuned for that. Basically, we will allow institutions that are using this service to be able to seamlessly work with the solution from the digitization request until the extract is enabled for the students. So it's worthwhile to wait for that. And the second thing which I wanted to highlight is the whole work we are doing with the reading list and the citation screen. I'm not sure all of you are aware, but most of you probably heard about our work in this course, the reading list citation area, with Solar. We are indexing in Solar all this information in order to have much more fluid and fast work in the system. Now, due to the nature of it's a very heavy development, so we already have some two early adopters. One of them is UNSW in Australia, and the other one is Sheffield University of Sheffield in the UK, in England, and they are testing the new functionality already in August release in their sandbox, and will be the first to test it in the October release. The rest of the community will be able to test this functionality you will be able to test this functionality on your sandbox in the October release, and production in December release. We leave ourselves quite a big, quite a gap between rolling with this rollout of this functionality, because we would like to make sure everything is functioning well before it's being published to the entire community. So you will be able to see the functionality in October release, but only in your sandbox. Hopefully everything will be smooth, and by December you will be able to see it on the production as well. So last chance for questions. And if you don't have, I would like to thank you. And see you next month, or see you in Igloo for those of you who are arriving, if you wish to meet with me there, just let me know in advance, or just bump into me in the hallway. But next month, as I mentioned, we will have a roadmap section and not a release highlight. Thank you again, and have a rest of the day as good as the beginning.